winning is the best feeling there is. It's 40,000 people, and they're cheering you on. There's no other high like it in the world. A day without pain is like a day without sunshine.
They show his rise at the beginning, and it was all about his fall after. And, you know, the going through that, the addiction and stuff like that, it really still hit home. And I think The Rock played such a vulnerable part to that as well.
And I feel like the high was not about him winning or losing. It was the high was like, I'm going to be okay.
Come on, are you ready? Yes.
Marquito is back.
What's happening, people? Welcome back to the Brothers Geek Out movie review. It's G-Man out here. I'm joined by Kibbs. Today, we're going to review The Smashing Machine. Before we get into it, this video is sponsored by Cherish Click. See the magic, be the magic. Check the description for more. So let's get into The Smashing Machine. Dwayne Johnson channels the physicality and vulnerability of a MMA legend, Mark Kerr, in The Smashing Machine. A raw, intimate look at a fighter who helped define modern MMA, addiction, and all its gritty, human, and occasionally heartbreaking moments. High-level plot of this movie, it focuses on Mark Kerr's life and his rise between 1997 and 2000, and the year 2000, starting off with Brazilian Vale Tudo, breakout, UFC dominance, and then moving over to Pride. It touches on addiction, his addiction spiral, personal relationships with his partner,
Girlfriend?
Girlfriend, and the struggles of finding meaning after the lights and fame and everything of MMA, especially at that time, which we'll talk about in a bit. The tone of this movie is an intimate biopic, more quiet empathy than the glorious spectacle of a movie. Safdie's film pushes towards more of an emotional truth rather than an exact timeline replication. And it's less, and we're going to talk about it in more detail, but it's less Hollywood, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, 100%. 100%.
Shout outs to Benny Safdie. He's the director. Safdie, he's the director. Yeah. The movie is based on Mark Kerr, and we'll talk about Mark Kerr. I've got a specific section I want to talk about Mark Kerr, ex-UFC Pride heavyweight legend. And then starring Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Mark Kerr, Emily Blunt as Dawn, Mark Kerr's partner, plus supporting fighters like Bas Rutten as his coach. He played himself, legendary fighter as well. You had Ryan Bader, who played another legendary fighter called come on, his face is, why have I gone blank? I had it in my head.
Mark Cole. Is it Mark Cole?
Mark Cole. Yes, Mark Cole.
Give me a second. You continue, bro. Yeah, continue.
Mark Cole, another legendary MMA fighter who is like the godfather of ground and pound. You could say that's what he's what he's known for. So going on to initial thoughts before we got into like unpacking this whole movie. Like initial thoughts, like The Rock, for me, okay, my initial thoughts when I initially watched, because I really wanted to watch this movie. Obviously, I'm an MMA fan. Follow the channel that that we used to have Fight Talk and whatnot, but I still do like live UFC watch-alongs. I do UFC news and whatnot. Huge MMA fan. I've trained MMA for many years, and I got to know Mark Kerr after. When I got into MMA, it was around 2008. So Anderson Silva sort of time or whatnot. That's when I got really into it. And then maybe like 6-7 years. And then, YouTube, loads of old videos, Pride and the Gracies, and learning about all of that stuff. I learned more about Mark Kerr when I bought UFC Fight Pass many years ago. And then I went back and I started seeing some stuff, and I saw Mark Kerr and everything. Obviously, listen to the Joe Rogan podcast and the fight ones that they have. They talk about Mark Kerr many times. So he's definitely a legend, and I was really looking forward to watching this. Now I didn't get a chance to watch it in cinema because I was traveling to the UK and all that sort of stuff. But once I got a chance to watch it, I was in. I genuinely enjoyed it. I was sucked in, and maybe I'm biased because it was based around Mark Kerr and the sport of MMA. Now, I would say it's more based around Mark Kerr, the human being, than it was the sport of MMA. It didn't glorify MMA And even his successes, and we'll talk about it and everything in MMA, it was more about the life journey of what he was going through. The Rock, I think, smashed it. For me personally, it was the best performance I've ever seen him in. I mean, the fact that he got like, what do you call it, cosmetics or whatever done to his face to kind of replicate Mark Kerr. The Rock is just a specimen in itself, so it just suited how big Mark Kerr was and everything. Because Mark Kerr was a specimen in itself, and we'll talk about the drug use and all that sort of stuff, the steroids and everything. But it focused on that. The Rock smashed his performance to really show a vulnerable side of Mark Kerr, of the human being of Mark Kerr. I mean, that's how Mark Kerr is. He's a very like soft-spoken person. And The Rock showed in this biopic about, you know, the story of what's in this biopic, a very vulnerable Mark Kerr, what really done a great performance. I honestly, man, one of the best. Physically looked great. The MMA, the fighting, the movements, honestly looked really, really good. It didn't, again, this is what I meant earlier about not Hollywood fighting. It really looked authentic. Safdie opts for a handheld intimacy, silent pause, and small domestic beats. It feels influenced by the original 2002 documentary, but shaped. So there was an original one called Smashing Machine, a documentary on Mark Kerr. So this was more of a movie biopic. Shaped the cinematic rhythm. Kerr said himself, because Kerr was involved a lot more, Mark Kerr was involved a lot in this, and we'll talk about that later. He had deep conversations with Safdie and fact-checked the film, which is was my main thing. I'm like, because there's been so many biopics when you change things. It's like, how could you change things when something actually happened, right? So I'm so glad that Mark Kerr was involved and he made sure he fact-checked it. So that was my initial thoughts. I just thought, excellent performance. I was sucked in. I enjoyed it. I didn't find it boring personally myself or anything like that. I appreciated the slow sort of pace to it. I appreciated the journey it was taking us through Mark Kerr and the personal journey and the struggles he was going through. And also it's like, you know, Mark Kerr's not the most popular guy. If you ask a regular MMA fan, they wouldn't know who Mark Kerr is.
They wouldn't know, yeah.
And this movie, I would say, like, I don't think it got bare money, like lots of money and all that stuff in the box office, because I just don't think like people know who Mark Kerr is. So it's just really hard to sell in the sense of like you're trying to tell a biopic of a historical MMA legend that not many people know of. It would be a big difference if you done it on like Conor McGregor or Khabib Nurmagomedov or something, or like a superstar. But he was a superstar in the MMA world, and he's a legend to MMA fans, but not to the average person. So that's my initial thoughts. I mean, Kibs, what did you think? Initial thoughts, and we'll go into some talking points and stuff.
No, listen. For me personally, it just made me feel a bit underwhelmed, and I know the story like before watching it, reading up a little bit on it, and about Mark Kerr's story as well. And again, I'm a person who didn't know about Mark Kerr and where he started. Only when we saw the trailers, I asked you lot, and then kind of went from there. I think the movie and the performances is great. It's the execution. Like, I can understand that this movie wasn't about his. They show his rise at the beginning, and it was all about his fall after. And, you know, the going through that, the addiction and stuff like that, it really still hit home. And I think The Rock played such a vulnerable part to that as well. Like, he was raw, he was emotional, and like, we've never seen The Rock like this before. Like, this is showing his acting talent. He wanted to prove a point, and I can totally understand that. I just feel like the movie was marketed wrong. And it is based on somebody that not many people will know of. Like, nobody's gonna run to the cinema to watch Mark Kerr's story, you know. And I think it's a big, bold move by the director Benny, who I found out later on he was the guy in Happy Gilmore 2, as the guy trying to build the app and trying to. Oh, I didn't realize he was an actor as well. So he writes. He must work with Adam Sandler quite closely. But he was the director of Uncut Gems, which is a great movie.
Oh, come on! Then I you know what? I didn't even look into it, to be honest with you. But come on, like, I mean, that's fantastic. Okay.
Yeah. So it's like great performances, great cinematography, great direction, execution, bro. So I found it a bit choppy when it comes to the editing, and then some of the music and the soundtrack and the score didn't match up to the film itself. Now, people got me in my review, my little short review, but my little short reviews are just like, I give you the good points and I give a constructive feedback. It's 50-50. It's never, we don't shit on movies. We still enjoy movies for what they are. I just felt like the execution and the soundtrack didn't work for me, which took me in and out of the movie. So overall, like if we're going to give it like a scale, I'd give it a good solid 6, bro. 6 out of 10. A solid 6 out of 10 movie. Just the soundtrack and execution when it came to editing wise just felt a bit choppy, and it didn't let me. What Hollywood can do in movies is make a scene with music really, like the silent parts, really emotional. And I think this didn't do it. Like there was like a moment where Emily Blunt's character, what I can't remember her name. Was it Gemma or something?
No, it was I got it here. Hold on. It was Kerr's partner, Dawn.
Dawn. When she gets arrested in the movie after the little big kind of disruption that they had a party happening, and he's going through the process of healing, and she's still being a loose Bruce, and like it should be, that moment should have been silent, really and truly, because it was an emotional moment. He's had to call the police on this woman because she had a gun, she pulled it up, and then this music came on. It was like bung ding bung bing ding ding, and it went all funny, and I was like, what the hell?
Like, I didn't even pay attention to that, to be honest.
Bro, see, this is what I'm saying. So, like, because music, I think, for me personally, I know that music plays a big part of a movie. Now, how do you grab me into that scene? Now, it could have worked silent, because that silent would have been like, oh man, this is deep. Look what's happening. But then that music dropped, bro. And they did that in a couple of scenes, bro. Like, and I was like, oh man, like I was ready to feel what Mark Kerr was going through there. And then, bro, I'm sorry, the soundtrack was basic.
How is it some
threw me off
Bollywood tune that kind of, it sounds like something. Honestly, that's interesting, because I really didn't pay any attention to any of the music except like, the Frank Sinatra My Way tune.
Yeah.
When you mentioned it, I do agree. Like I do agree, because there was one part in the beginning where they were sitting on the sofa, and then it flipped straight to her stretching him in the gym, and I actually was like, oh wait, did I forward something? Like I actually felt like did I miss something?
Yeah, it felt choppy. It felt choppy.
So I agree from that point, because when you spot that out, I was like, yeah, I did feel like that with that editing and whatnot, with that point specifically. The music, honestly, I didn't really pay attention to. Now the tune My Way, Frank Sinatra, I think there's a meaning behind that. He did it his 100%,
way. 100%.
So I get the meaning of that, and it's a brilliant tune in itself. But I didn't really pay attention to those moments, to be honest, with the music then. I honestly was so sucked in, because I'm just, again, a fan of MMA, and I really wanted to know more about Mark Kerr's story, that I didn't really pay attention to that. Every scene, every moment, every ups and every downs that he was going through, I felt for him. And I just was like, what was going through my head was, what I loved about it was, this was when MMA, was still kind of like barbaric, and people were banning it, and it wasn't on TV as much, and they were trying to say it was, human cockfighting and all this sort of stuff. And here comes this almost like a soft-spoken giant beast called Mark Kerr, who really handled himself as a professional. He would wear suits and all this sort of stuff. He would speak as professionally as possible. He was very soft-spoken. He was approachable. You know what I mean? He was the very opposite of what you would think an MMA fighter was. I mean, listen, martial artists are the most approachable people anyway, like MMA fighters, because they got nothing to prove. But in that time that you thought they were savages, he was a very approachable person. He really brought some professionalism to it. And he was a very decorated wrestler as well. So that's what I was just focused on. I was just very interested and intrigued by The Rock's acting of bringing that vulnerability, big friendly giant almost to the screen. So I didn't really pay attention to those sort of parts. So I actually felt what he was going through. And I just was so amazed by how The Rock just didn't seem like The Rock. Like he was so vulnerable. It was just so good and almost looked so much like Mark Kerr. I love the fact that they did that to the face in a sense, just to kind of make him look a bit more like Mark Kerr. That was pretty good too. Like they could have just left it. They didn't have to do that, but they took that extra step and it just adds extra element. I thought that was brilliant.
No, 100%. I agree with you on that. I mean, he looked the part, bro. Even like growing his traps and everything, like just how like Mark Kerr's were, like the characteristics that he brought out in Mark as well, which was amazing. This is he threw himself deep into this role, and listen, credit is due to that. Like I still enjoyed the journey. I still enjoyed the losses. I still understood his struggle when it came to the pain he was going through, and nobody around that era, nobody really talked about what fighters were going through at the time,
especially
and the pain
in MMA,
he was going through as well.
Especially that kind of fighting. You think the mans talk about their feelings to anyone, bro? You're right, and then that's what I'm saying. Like nowadays, people talk about the mental and all that sort of stuff, right? But back then, in that generation, definitely not. But just as an MMA fighter, a badass MMA fighter, bro, they would never talk about that, man. But it's what they went through, man. And I personally went through that on an amateur scale. I remember doing amateur fights and just feeling like scared. And you have to. I faked it. I wish I had the mentality that I had then, because people like GSP, who's one of the greatest of all times, will speak about it openly. Like I'm scared of fighting. Of course, I don't want to do this. I'm scared, but that's what it's all about, overcoming the fear. You had Enson Inoue talking about it. Like he was like, I fight not because like I'm crazy or whatever. I love fighting. It's like, no, it's just overcoming fear. I do it because I want to overcome my fears. So, but back then, man, them lot didn't even talk about it, man. So it's such a great point to show, man, that they're still human beings, man. You're doing one of the most brutal things, and body what's the word I'm looking for? Taxing sports of all time. You got to train, as Bruce Lee said, at every part of your body, and you're trying to learn every single martial art. Now, back then, it was a lot more style specific, so he focused a lot more on his wrestling, of course. But man, it's such a body tasking. I think that's the right word I'm using, but just takes a taxing. What do you call it? Sport. So yeah, man, I think you really, I really appreciate it. I don't know where I was going with that thought, but yeah, really appreciated the way it was pulling us in.
So you got, sorry guys, got little Nia here, so that's why I switched the camera off. She's not feeling too good, so I'm with her at the moment. But no, exactly what you said there, like the taxing on the body, like the training, like what's your name? Is it CS?
Who's that?
When he went to the, oh sorry, hold up, the second gym he went to start training for the next fights. The bald guy who had like a heart attack or something.
Bas Rutten, yeah, Bas Rutten.
Yeah. Because I know he was a fighter. He's been in a couple of movies that we know
of.
Yeah. Here Comes the Boom, and he's been in a couple of Adam Sandler movies as well.
Yeah. He's a legendary fighter. He again, UFC heavyweight champion. I think it's heavyweight champion. Yeah, legend, Bas Rutten.
But like what they go through, and like they fight for a living. So this is the reason why they're on these products as well. It's just because they fight for a living. They need to feed their kids. They need to pay their bills. So they go from there.
It's especially back then, bro. It's a crazy lifestyle to do. Listen, as martial artists and even wrestlers back then, there was no really journey. Like you got the Olympics for wrestling. For martial arts, you had martial arts tournaments and you could teach and whatnot. But there was no really not like boxing or anything where a path that you can go to like make loads of money and become a superstar and all that stuff. Like MMA now, yes, there's money, there's superstardom. Back then there was nothing. So even though they were doing it back then, was really like they weren't getting paid much, and there wasn't much superstardom back then. You know what I mean? You weren't getting that famous and everything. So again, it's like to do that back then. It's a different mentality, man. Those type of people, different mentality to wanting to do that at a stage back then. Now it makes more sense because there's a path. There's the UFC, try and get into the UFC, and there's other organizations as well. You can make enough money, you could become a superstar and all that sort of stuff. But back then, man, there was not even no social media and stuff like that. And
that's right.
You know what I mean? Like, but they were famous in the MMA world, and you touched on the products that they use as steroids or whatnot. I mean, again, back then there was less rules. Like when MMA first started, I think there was 3 rules. Like, when Brazil, where the Gracie family started the UFC in Valetudo, I don't know if there was. I think there was only 3 rules as well. Like no eye gouging, no groin strikes, and no biting. And I think the UFC, when it first started, I think it was just no eye gouging and no biting. But man, I've seen some fights where they punch him in the nuts. Man, I can't remember which one it is, but there's someone's got someone in I think it's like side control, and he's just literally punching his balls, bro.
Oh,
It's
bro,
freaking
allow
brutal.
it.
It is
Oh,
brutal. So, but anyway, obviously the sport has validated so many rules and whatnot. But this was back then, so obviously they took steroids, and in Pride where he fought in Japan, Ensign Inoue was saying this on Joe Rogan's podcast. Like they're in their contract, it said in their contract, we will not test you for steroids. Like that's what it said in the Pride contract. So that's why people were more incentivized to take steroids and whatnot. I remember when I was gonna have my first MMA fight, one of my Hungarian friends, I'm not gonna say his name or whatnot, who I used to do capoeira with, he was telling me, do you want to get on? So I'm like, no, man, are you crazy? Like, what do you mean, do I want to get on? He was trying to help me, finger quote, help me. He was like, do you want to get on some steroids? I'm like, no, man, I don't want to get on it. So that's what I'm saying. Like, when you go into something like that, people just think like, to whatever edge you can get, take some steroids and shit. But that's what they did back then. Now it's obviously a very, they cleaned all of that up, and it's a very formal sport in the sense of testing and all that sort of stuff. But yeah, man, like of course they took all that stuff, and that stuff's obviously not good for you, man. It's messing around with your hormones and stuff like that. The more you take, as we saw in there, man, he put
that's
his
right.
life at risk,
Jumping. No, of course, and I think even that hit home a little bit because addiction is it's a tough one, bro, because you rely on it, isn't it? It becomes your coping mechanism, which it was for him, and I totally got that from his performance, bro. Like the Rock's performance in that, it did get me because I was like, oh man, this guy is struggling. And it's not even that; it's what he's trying to say to Dawn as well, that you're not understanding what I'm going through. You're talking, but you're not understanding what I'm going through. And I think that's really important. That this is what happens when you're addicted to fighting, winning. Because his struggle with not winning was so tough, bro. Like, who doesn't know about that? Who doesn't know?
Remember,
about
he
that?
was undefeated at that point. He was undefeated. Remember that?
Yeah.
And it happens to this day, bro. Like, people don't know the feeling of losing. I mean, like, listen, like, some people don't ever lose, but obviously that's always the journey. Like, you got people like, you got legends like Khabib Nurmagomedov, who's never lost, right? 29-0 and whatnot. But some people lose and they come back stronger. Like some people say the loss is necessary for you to come back stronger. But listen, people don't strive to lose. Of course not.
100%.
Are people able to move forward after they do lose? You know what I'm trying to say? Like everyone wants to win. No one puts losing in their head. The real battle is what happens if you do lose. Can you move forward? Because I can't remember who said it. It was a couple of MMA fighters. I think it was Usman Nurmagomedov who lost one fight. Usman or Umar? Umar. Anyway, said something like simple as like, you only lose if you give up. Okay, I lost my first fight. He lost his first fight. People kept talking about his first loss. He goes, listen, I'm still here. I've been training. I'm back. I only would lose if I gave up. And that's true. But some people can't take. Listen, man, some people can't take losing. I remember, bro, when I started competing, I lost my first 3 fights. And it was a horrible feeling. The first fight was fun, right? Honestly, I felt I should have won that. But anyway, first fight was fun. The second and third, I really wanted to win. But then I lost. And I wouldn't say it affected me in a bad way, but I was like, that feels basic. But then my fourth one is when I won, and that feeling was fantastic. And when you chase that feeling of winning, and this is on an amateur level, bro. I'm trying to say, and it felt great.
Yeah.
On that level, on winning, being dominant, and all that sort of stuff, and then crashing with a loss, man, the mental side of it, man, because you start questioning yourself and your abilities and all that sort of stuff. It's crazy, and you have panic attacks and everything, man. And they show the side of that, man. And MMA fighters talk about that now to this day about losing, because again, I'm being biased because I'm an MMA fan. I love martial arts. but you're fighting someone. This is not like a team sport. With all respect to team sports, it's not a team sport. This is physical. Like you are getting brains, like your brain cells smashed in, your arm locks, chokes, whatever. Man. You're literally putting your body on the line. It's like boxing, right? You're putting your body on the line. So it's a real, like the mental part of it is it's a different kind of level, man.
No, 100%, bro. And there are like certain things that I wouldn't understand, which those performances made me feel, you know what I mean? So don't get me wrong. Like, I think where people got me in the other one was like, I got messages that, man, how can you say you didn't like it? I said, I didn't like it. I just said there were some things that took me out of the storytelling. I think that's important because storytelling is going to connect to people in different ways. So like his performance, Emily Blunt's, even his manager, who's a fighter as well. I can't remember his name.
The manager, his friend.
Well, his manager who ended up fighting. Yeah, Mark.
Yeah, Mark
is it
Cole,
Mark Cole?
Yeah.
Who is a fighter as well, isn't he?
Yeah, he's a legendary fighter as well. He's known as the godfather of ground and pound.
There you go. So, like performances, bro. All the performances were great. But The Rock, man, he surprised me in this one. Like, so I'm not discrediting it. Just it took me out of the movie sometimes. But like performance-wise and the struggle and like it makes you think how much people go through when it comes to this as well. So, no, listen, man. Overall, great. It was great performances, and just the storytelling a little bit threw me off. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying, and also like it didn't feel it. Like I said, I think that's the Hollywood part I keep talking about. Like there wasn't this glamorous end spectacle fight where he wins because he loses at the end as well and all that sort of stuff. It wasn't about that, and it didn't give you that. It didn't finish off on almost. It didn't finish off on a high end in regards to him winning, but it finished off on a high where it kind of. I feel like it finished on a high where it kind of showed you, I'm okay. Do you know what I'm trying to say? That was the high that I feel like it finished off. That's what I took away from it because he was smiling at his friend's success. Mark Cole's success, and I feel like the high was not about him winning or losing. It was the high was like, I'm gonna be okay. Is that I don't know if that makes sense to you, but that's what I took away from the high. And that's why it made me feel good, and I love the way they showed Mark Kerr at the end,
100%,
where he was just shopping, and it just showed that he's okay. Like, do you know what I mean? That was the high end for me, and I get it, like. A movie, a Hollywood movie or whatever. I don't think this is a Hollywood blockbuster movie. It's not that. It's a biopic. It is a biopic. So
it's a biopic.
That's what I'm saying. You're not gonna get that. It's a biopic. So that's what I'm trying to say. Like that, the end was, I'm gonna be okay. You know what I mean? So that's what I kind of took away from took away from that. But again, as we spoke about earlier, I get it about the editing. I didn't really pay much attention, but that one scene did get me, and I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." That felt a little bit off, but you know, it is what it is. But it was great to see, like I said, Bas Rutten and all these other fighters in there. I was thinking, why wouldn't you get Mark Coleman in there? But obviously, he must be old. He's old now, obviously, and Ryan Bader does a great job in that as well. Of playing Mark Coleman, which is great. And then what else was there, man? I think there was one scene that really did get me when Mark when he was in hospital, when he overdosed on the steroids, and he just kind of like he was talking to Mark Coleman and he was acting like he was good. He was acting like he was good, and then he broke down. And that's what that scene got me. And I was like, it was just again just showing that vulnerability was just a performance, like amazing performance, man.
No, definitely was, bro. Definitely was.
Well, I think we kind of touched on some of these themes as we were talking, but like, we don't always win was one of the themes, right? There's a couple themes I want to talk about and points out. We don't always win, right? So the film doesn't sugarcoat losses, fight losses, relationship failures, and personal defeats. Show the human cost, uses Kerr pride and UFC losses as a metaphor of life setbacks. So we kind of talk about that, his life, about, overcoming losses, you know, and it's not just fight losses, it's everything. Life, man, you lose so much in life. I mean, Rocky says it great. It's not how hard you hit, it's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward, right? It's so true though. It's so true, because nothing hits you as hard as life, because that's what this movie hit. That's where I would say this movie focused a lot on, was life hit him harder than the fights. Of course, it was around the fights, it was around all of that, but it was life that got him down, man, and kept trying to knock him down and everything, man. So that's what I think was super important about, that was really great about this movie. We don't always win. It's life. You lose in so many aspects in life, be it career, life itself, relationships, addiction. It's tough, man. Life is fucking tough, man. We talk about it all the time, but then, you know, when you see it on someone else as well, you're like, man, I feel it for them, and I go through my shit too. You know what I mean? Like, it's crazy.
100%, bro. Sorry, my ear's not doing too well at all. Hold me. Come.
So we could go through. Go on.
Oh, sorry. I was gonna say, life is tough, man. Definitely. As you guys can see right now, sick baby and trying to do this at the same time. It's not easy. But we do what we can. But I mean, it proves that at the ending shows that he's still okay and he's still moving on. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next talking point, which was winning isn't everything. Like, winning amplified pain and access to drugs, right? Because he didn't want to lose, right? When he was winning, it amplified that stuff, right? The movie illustrates how success sometimes enables self-destruction behavior rather than solving the inner problems. That's so true, because you're on that high of winning. And with that high of winning, you get the glory, you get the money, you get all that sort of stuff. And because you don't want to lose that, it starts amplifying all the other bullshit that comes with it. You know, Conor McGregor is a perfect example, man. I mean, like, the guy's super famous, successful, and all that sort of shit. But the amount of shit he's got himself into, there's definitely some sort of inner demons in there. Like, again, like, you know, and you don't want to ever lose that fame. It's a weird thing, man. People do some crazy shit for fame, man, and glory and success, man. Like, winning isn't everything. Unless you keep yourself humble, man, unless you keep yourself grounded. But there's so much to it, man. It's easy for me to say, but I guess on that level, on that sort of level, as a fighting level, you're fighting. I mean, think about it, man. MMA is like for me, it's like a very vulnerable sport. You're going into a cage to fight another human being in your underpants, like surrounded by thousands of people, watched by possibly hundreds of thousands, millions of people on TV. It's gonna be on the internet, so it's out there forever. So it's such a vulnerable sport, I think, man. And winning is the highest of highs, and then losing it could be the lowest of lows, depending how your mental is. But again, man, keeping that highest of high is a drug. And it's like anything, man, like stock market and all that. So I was just talking to Habib about the crypto. Like, you're winning. We were up like just a month ago, man. We were up at the highest of highs, and we got greedy, and we're like, oh, keep it. And now the crypto just dropped, and you're losing, and my heart's hurting and shit. And I'm like, what the fuck? Winning is so good, but you just it can amplify some bad if you don't have it under control, man.
He talks about it. He tells Dawn, you know, that high of winning, doesn't matter what drug you're taking or whatever, but that high of winning in a fight, it's unexplainable. You think everything in that moment is
move in the middle a little bit, sorry.
Yeah. Everything in that moment is, you kind of think everything's gonna be all right. But what you don't realize is you're gonna lose at some point. And you gotta get used to losing. That's hard. Right. I think that's hard enough. The fact that you're gonna always, yeah.
But you don't even think about it. When you think about it, we go through that in life. There could be days when life is great, right? You're just chilling, doing whatever. You're with your wife, you're with your family, everything's great. And then something will happen in life, be it a bill's too high, or the boiler just breaks, or whatever it is, and you're like, ah, shit. or work's stressing you out, or I've been talking about not only work's been stressing me out, but the environment of work's been basic because of people and whatnot. When life hits you, man, it's so unexpected, man. And this is one of the things that I don't think they teach, or we have to teach our children in ways like, especially growing up, like how to lose. You know, you have to really learn how to lose. Like winning is not easy either because you've got so much to do to win. You've got to put so much work in, but you have to learn how to lose. You know, I was trying to teach this to Idris, but he gets upset and he wants to beat me up. Like when we play games, I'm like, no, man, I'm not going easy on you. You need to learn how to lose. And he gets so upset when I beat him. But I'm like, Idris, man, you got to learn how to lose, man. And it's why I think martial arts is great, or sport is great for kids. Because they do lose in it, and you have to overcome adversities, even as kids. And I'm not trying to say be harsh on the kids, but just teach them how to lose. It's okay to lose as long as you don't give up. You know what I mean? So it's so important.
No, 100%. I think that's like a key thing, and that's a key part of the story as well. That I'm gonna be okay, but I'm not gonna win all my battles. And I think that's what it was. And once you chase that high of winning and fighting, as we said it already, it's a whole different ball game, man. That's something else completely. So, no, a great, like a really good story, bro. Mark Kerr's quite. I mean, he's like one of the forefront guys that kicked this off. So, good on him, man. And it's nice to know about his story, and it's nice to see he's getting along. I've seen a couple of his interviews, and he was like, he's proud of The Rock. With the way he did the performance as well. Like, that's always nice when you can get complimented by the person who's, and sometimes they do biopics of people who pass away. This guy's still around. He's still fighting. He's still living.
Well, he's not fighting. You know what I mean? He's not fighting. Well, fighting.
Not fighting,
life,
but like in life. You know what I mean? So, good on him, man. Well, good on him.
The next point was the journey, the trophy, the documentary film both emphasizes the work, rituals, and lonely miles behind each fight. That journey shapes the man more than the belt ever will. That people say it's the journey, not the it's always the journey, not the main point. It's so true. It's such an emotional journey. I remember training for my fights, and again, this is at an amateur level. That journey, bro, that mental highs and lows, going to the gym, getting smashed, coming out, feeling unconfident, going back, having a good day, feeling like, I'm on top of the world. You start panicking, you get scared. But the journey, and you got life to deal with and work to deal with. That journey is can be a very lonely journey, man, honestly. Because you're in it yourself. In your head, you're in it yourself. And especially if you're not talking to anyone, and be it therapist or your family or friend, that journey is in your head, man. You know what I mean? Because you're training with your coaches and your partners, your team partners, and all that sort of stuff. But the journey's in your head, man. What you're going through, it's a mad thing. It's really mad. But yeah, it is more than ever the belt will ever get you, man. Because once you have that belt, that win again, it's like, how do I keep this? You know what I mean? Yeah, the journey carries on. The journey doesn't stop. How do I keep this? How do I get better? How do I not lose this? Like, I lost it. Oh my God, how do I get it back? Like, the journey just doesn't stop, man. It's such a mental journey. It's taxing, man. It's crazy.
Yeah, 100%, 100%. It takes a part of you. It takes, and I've never been like, I'll never know that journey. I think the only journey I'd know of is Tough Mudder, like the training for that. Other than that, you were training like 3 times a day at one point. So like that's a whole different level.
I really wanted to be a professional fighter. Well, when I say professional, I was so inspired by training by a professional fighter. Yeah. Well, you had talent. Right? Obviously, you just weren't into it as much and whatever. But you had talent, man, because you had great agility. You had great kicks and whatnot. But I just really admired martial arts and the ability to manipulate your body in a certain way. And I think mixed martial arts also, from a self-defense perspective, just really, really.
I think it was really good. Definitely. It's like, it's still in me. It's still there. You know what I mean? It's not one day. It's not there. You know what I mean? I'm still on my campaign of doing spinning kicks on the red carpet to like get a scene in a movie. Even if I have to show my ass like Van Damme, I do it. Just give me that one moment. But like, I still respect the arts, man. Like, it's beautiful to see. Like, I love martial arts, man. Like, seeing it on the screen, see it being represented like that, and that it'll always be with me. Like it's not something that I want, but that's all forms of, like, wrestling, boxing. It's all there. Like there's this amicable respect for what martial artists, boxers, MMA fighters have to go through to get to that point. So like I'll always have that. Like I know how hard it is training. I've never been in like a amateur fight or anything like that, but to go toe to toe with somebody, like Mark Kerr says it, like, we don't hate each other. I just want to know I'm standing at the end of the fight. You know what I mean? And that's I think that's really important. I think that builds resilience in us as well. Like, it's scary that a lot of people don't have that resilience, but like, I want to be standing at the end of anything. You know what I mean? Whatever I've gone through, like with life itself, like, we know how tough it is, man. Regardless of the highs and the lows, it's always going to be like a odd balance of shit than more good stuff. You know what I mean? It's like, how do you roll with those punches? And I think this is what it was trying to teach. We learned that through Mark Kerr's journey in this as well. Like, what more could I put myself into? Because a lot of it he put himself into. You know what I mean? And we all do that. We make decisions and we like, basically, why am I here for, man? What did I do this for? You know what I mean? Like, but you make those decisions because sometimes you need to be in the right room, right? You need to be in the right place, right time, whether you win or lose. You know what I mean? I think it's really important to who's showing up. I think it's important to show up, and distractions and things that can throw you off. Like, Dawn having that first argument, he probably blamed her for it because he lost that fight because they had that massive argument
for his first fight. Right, exactly.
And then before that, yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, little things like that, like, it's hard to separate. And we do that now. We don't know how to switch off. Like, something you said a couple of months ago regarding switching off, like having 5-10 minutes to yourself a day. I've realized that, my parenting recently, my parenting skills have diminished over the past year because I'm on edge. I'm always trying to sort something out. And I don't know how to deal with things straight away. And it was like, have 5-10 minutes to yourself, whether you're sleeping or resting or just no music, no podcast, no nothing, no like distractions. And then you realize your mind kind of just resolves those issues in that moment. You have that clarity. You're not focused on so many other things. So I sit in the dark now. I've been doing it for the week and a half now. Whether I sit in the dark or lay down in the dark, I got a bit more clarity. And I think it's important to not have those distractions coming. And that, I think, as a fighter, that's really important as well.
Yeah, definitely. The last point I want to touch on, then we could finish off with some just like some other points of recovery and redemption. Kerr's later sobriety and reflection makes the arc hopeful. The film's what is this word? The film's catalyst is about facing the past. Catalyst, yeah, it might be about facing the past and choosing a future beyond the cage. Yeah, touches like think about that, man. Just him going through this journey, trying to recover, trying to get over this addiction, and thinking about a future ahead of what he's doing now. Like, when you're in it, right now, you're in the moment right now, and you're trying to face your past and you're choosing the future beyond what's going to happen. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, in the moment that you're in it, that you feel like, no, this should be all about here now. He's thinking about the future. I think it's such a, it's such a mental, I don't even know the right word for it, man. Like, really thinking about that, man, really pushing yourself to go that further, not breaking. Like, end of the day, you're not breaking as a human being. You know what I'm trying to say? Like, you're not breaking. You're like, even though you have rough moments, you don't break. And break means like you just completely give up, suicide, all that sort of stuff. Like, you didn't go down those lines. And it must be hard, man. It must be super hard for people and whatnot. And I think we all go through our moments and stuff like that.
Yeah, 100%. I think It's the breaking point, isn't it? It is that breaking point, man. I feel like sometimes I've hit that breaking point and it's like, you know what? Why am I even trying for, man? So I think, yeah, I think that's a crucial part, a catalyst of the story as well, of what Mark Kerr went through as well. It's that breaking point. The fact that he still went on, he's still cheerful, even after losing that fight, he wanted his boy to win. So it's like having that momentum
that
of keeping
relationship.
going.
Yeah, think about that relationship. They were both in it together, like that. I mean, again,
That could have been a Warriors moment. Yeah,
it could have been, but that's what I'm saying. Like, it's a beautiful moment. It's a beautiful friendship. Again, he valued relationship. He valued the person that was there for him. He flew over when he was in hospital. Like, yeah, again, he valued that friendship, more than anything, which is why he wanted him to win. Beautiful, man. Beautiful. Like I say, like, you learn so much about an individual, and it gives you kind of inspiration of like, I want to better myself in the sense of like my relationships and just doing better, and I can overcome the shit that I'm going through. And that's what you want to kind of take from these films or these biopics or these human beings that are out there. You can learn from everyone. We go through our journeys and we're learning from ourselves. We learn from each other. We learn from inspiring figures and all that sort of stuff. So there's so much to learn from people. Okay, cool. Let me go through some notes of accuracy versus real life, like what was true and what was changed in this. Because I thought that was important because Mark Kerr was involved, but I still wonder if these things were changed or whatnot. So I kind of trying to check the internet for this stuff. So what the film gets right. Career arc, Kerr's breakout in Brazil, the World Valetudo 1997, UFC success and pride, tenure and our core to the story. The film tracks the rise and the spotlight that followed. Addiction and personal struggle. Documentary and Kerr's accounts makes clear Kerr's long battle with painkillers and addiction. The A24 film centers that struggle as an emotional spine. Emotional truth. Kerr has said Safdie captured the emotional landscape well, and that the process was therapeutic. He contributed to developing the fact-checked major beats. Changes, cinematic compressions and good and stuff like that. So compressed timeline and composite character. So Safdie uses composites and rearranges sequences for dramatical clarification or clarity. Standard biopic device. So I think that's something that standardly they do. Some fights or people are considered into single scenes, condensed into single scenes or characters, reworked overdose depiction, narrative choices. So rather than showing every event exactly, the film sometimes narrates horror, e.g. an overdose conveyed by the phone call or montage, preserving emotional weight over the documentary details. Tone and focus. The 2002 HBO doc is raw reportage. The A24 drama leans into into I don't know why I got these big words in here, and mood, sometimes interiotory and mood, sometimes at the cost of granular fight context. Fans remember I can't even read for shit. That's not making no sense at all. This is where I'm battling, boy. I'm battling my dyslexia, my shitty ability to read. I'm trying to put something out here and I can't even read. I kind of want to be like, fuck this shit. Why am I reading this? It's embarrassing. Anyway, critics and fans have pointed out some omissions, less details than ATC. All right, cool. Forget that one. I don't know what I'm talking about. How involved was Mark Kerr? This was also very important. Kerr collaborated with Safdie, had a long conversation, and fact-checked the script. He's publicly said the film helped him reflect and was emotionally cathartic. He served as a consultant rather than being a final creative authority. I think that's super important, and I appreciate
100%,
studios and Safdie getting him involved because that's so important if you're doing that on his life. Okay, real quick, finishing off with Mark Kerr's real significance to MMA, UFC talking points. So I wanted to talk about it because it's super important, right? Because it's a legend in the game. Era and dominance. Kerr was a heavyweight phenom in the late 90s, dominating Vale-Tudo tournaments. And Vale-Tudo, I think, meant no rules fighting, I believe, in Portuguese. Each early UFC tournaments and pride help improve that spectacular and marketability of the MMA world. ADCC grappling legend. Kerr won multiple ADCC titles. His submission grappling pedigree influenced the technical evolution of MMA and wrestling submission. Marketing and media. Stars like Mark Kerr helped the sport transition from no-holds-bar fringe to mainstream interest in Japan and slowly back to the US markets. His career highlights the global path that MMA took. Legacy and recognition. Kerr's story and the 2002 doc raises awareness of fighter health, addiction, and the cost of early MMA. In 2025, he was inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame, a pioneer ever, a nod to his long-time impact. I mean, I salute him for putting himself out there for that. Here's some interesting production industry facts. The movie was shaped by and compared against the 2002 HBO documentary, The Smashing Machine. Suggest listeners watch both to compare the reportage versus the dramatization. Kerr consultation made the film feel authentic in voice, even where scenes were altered. He said that the experience helped him process trauma. Critic noted that the films trades some granular fight details for psychological intimacy. That's a choice Safdie made to craft a human drama rather than a sports film. That's a really good point. It wasn't a sports film. It was a human drama movie.
I agree with that.
Man, that was all the points, man. Why don't we give our final thoughts? Why don't you give your final thoughts of the review and let the people know if they should watch or not watch, or actually
listen,
always
man,
watch,
it's definitely a movie to check out. Like, I'm not gonna, as I said, I gave it a solid 6 out of 10. It's a great story on what Mark Kerr had gone through, and it's not a sports movie. It is based on a person's journey. Overall, good watch with great performances. The beginning felt a bit choppy with the editing, and the music threw me off. That's all. Other than that, like, I still watched the film, still got through it. Didn't take me out too much, but I feel like editing and music choice does really, like, the soundtrack score does play an important part, or not having any music in those emotional moments and letting the audience kind of feel that moment. But other than that, overall, great watch, 6 out of 10, I would say. I don't like doing scores, but I'd say just because of the soundtrack and the editing. But other than that, go check it out, guys. I mean, make a decision for yourself. I had a great conversation with, I think it was Top Shelf Comics or something like that online. You know, he really loved the story of Mark's journey. Like, you know, it's not about the wins, it's about the struggles of losing. And it's a character-based story. It's not a sports movie, guys. So definitely check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I personally give it, like, I would say 7.58 if I was to put a score in it. I enjoyed it. Really, I enjoyed it. I mean, like, that only part with that one editing scene, which I didn't really know. I noticed, but didn't really pick it up until you mentioned it. But I personally enjoyed it.
There's more of it that takes you out.
Yeah,
There's more of it.
I think I was just more engaged, maybe. Not engaged, not saying that you weren't. I think my MMA bias here, I guess, I was really interested in the character, if that makes sense. Like, if you're coming in when you don't know the character, there's a little bit of you're focusing on something, because I was so interested, and I know him as well. I just wanted to know more. But I personally really enjoyed it, and I have to give The Rock credit, man. I was like, really well done,
he was
man.
brilliant.
Like,
so good.
I rated
so
him as
good.
an actor. But I rated him as an actor. He was cool. He was all right. But he was always like almost like The Rock all the time. This was the first time he wasn't The Rock for me. He was someone else.
He's
like,
done
really
that a couple of times. There's like, it's funny you say that because
Gang, you mentioned.
Huh?
Sorry,
the Gridiron Gang. Yeah, the Gridiron Gang and Jumanji, the first one. Before he turns into kind of The Rock, at the beginning when he's that vulnerable kid, The Rock really played that really well. And then he went into The Rock mode after. But like, I was watching Walking Tall yesterday. It's a bit of a weird movie to suddenly pick. But like, again, That was like his beginning of his era of movies. He did a lot of movies that were based on true life people. Like, so that was based on a true life event. Same thing with the Gridiron Gang. I think he's always had it in him to do these big roles, but Hollywood took him into a different direction. And it's difficult because you want to keep the momentum rolling. Now, he's taken a big risk doing this movie. Like, it didn't do great in the box office, and it's very difficult for a movie like that to do good in the box office. I think as a great independent movie, I think he smashed it, bro. I'm so glad he took this risk to play a character the way he did, because he got Mark Kerr's characteristics there, the fighting styles, the walk, the vulnerability that he gave as Mark as well. So credits to The Rock, man. I've got to say, credits to The Rock. It's a good film.
I think regardless of the movie making money or whatnot, his credibility went up.
Yes.
From his acting perspective, you know what I mean? Because it was that good. It's like, oh, he didn't lose. I don't think he lost anything. Okay, the movie didn't make money. No. That's a tough thing, right? Obviously, you base in a way you base success of a movie on money in one way, but really not. The movie's success should be based on how did it make people feel? Was you able to tell the story? Did people enjoy it?
100%.
And I think his stock elevated as an actor, I think, and this could possibly lead him to more things or whatnot, but at least he was able to put this out there, and you can literally say, all right, when you look through The Rock's career of movies, it's like, that's the one where his performance was amazing.
Great.
You know what I mean?
Agreed.
Cool, man. Well, why don't you take us out, man? That was our review
as always, guys,
on the Smashing Machine. Guys, make sure you go check it out and watch it. It's worth the watch, 100%. Great movie, man. Listen, sorry, real quick. It's great to talk about a movie that's not, a big blockbuster or a comic book movie. Like, it's great to see these things happening and coming out and whatnot. So, guys, check it out.
You need stories like this. Because I feel like, for me personally, it was important because of the addiction part, the mental health aspect of it, the struggle of a fighter, the struggle of a person. What highs and lows can do to you. And Mark was like, The Rock played Mark very vulnerable in this. So it did connect. With guys don't talk about it. But yeah, check it out, guys. Like, I know we do reviews and the rest of it, and I'm not meant to discourage people. That's why I give constructive feedback, good and bad. What I liked about it, what I didn't like about it. Doesn't mean you could connect to it 100%. We had that conversation with somebody on Instagram. So go enjoy it. Go enjoy movies, man. Get people in the cinema. It's a shame we don't see that many people in the cinema. Like, when I do go, like, I'm the only person in there or two other people. You know what I mean? It's like, I used to go in there, man, pack cinemas every time, man. I miss them days. I do miss it. Because the audience give you a great reaction when it's a good audience. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
But yeah, as always, massive thank you to you all, man. You guys have been absolutely amazing. We hit 1 million views on the YouTube. That's crazy. When did we start this? 3 years ago, this channel?
This channel, yeah. 3 years ago.
Bloody hell. Was it? No. Or 4 years ago?
Yeah, it's probably 4 now.
Let me check, man. Because anyway, listen, I just want to say, we're not big on numbers and we don't usually celebrate numbers. But we always do celebrate the little wins. I think it's important. 1 million views, which is insane. I gotta say that is proper insane. It doesn't give me anyway. It's about 4 or 5 years ago we started this channel separately from my art channel. It's great to see the response that we get and some of the messages we get and people who enjoy the episodes, whether they're listening to it here or on the commute on like Spotify, Amazon, or Apple Podcasts. And we want to thank you guys. But make sure you follow us on our social journey, TikTok, Instagram, Threads, X, and the YouTube page. Make sure you subscribe, follow the community page. Once you subscribe, you'll see that we put up stuff on the community page as well. So latest news, what we've been up to, things like that. So make sure you guys join in. Please do comment away if there's any subjects you want us to cover on the next podcast. So if you have a question, please do ask us. Let us know. My screen just died. Can you see me still?
Yeah, sorry, I was just typing work, man. I can see you.
Yeah. So just let us know in the comments what would you like for us to cover movies, comics, gaming on the next episode of the podcast. All right, guys. One love. Peace.
One love. Peace.
Thanks for watching, and make sure you follow us on all our socials. You got X, TikTok, Instagram, and Threads, and do subscribe to the YouTube channel for more of the long form content and the breaking news. Also, guys, if you guys are on the commute, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. And there's some more videos for you guys to watch.